I can still picture that night as if it's happening all over again. I was curled up in my warm living room, surrounded by a few of my closest friends, the kind who knew nearly everything about me, or so I believed. We were laughing, trading stories, sipping wine that made the outside world feel miles away. I was in a light-hearted mood, cracking jokes, trying to be the funny one. I had absolutely no idea that one stupid attempt at humor was about to flip my entire life upside down. We drifted into conversations about relationships. Wanting to entertain everyone, I started bragging. At least I thought I was being playful. Leaning back on the couch with a grin, I tossed out the worst line imaginable. Honestly, my ex was a perfect 10 in bed. My husband? More like a 3. I said it jokingly, expecting the room to burst into laughter and move on. And they did laugh. Some teased me back, others made jokes, and for a moment I felt clever, witty, on top of the world. But then, everything shifted. I didn't realize he was even home. My husband had come back earlier than usual, quiet enough that none of us noticed. He stood in the doorway with his arms folded, staring at me with an expression that froze every drop of blood in my body. It wasn't anger, not yet. It was worse. Hurt, disbelief, and something sharp beneath it all. I stopped laughing instantly. Time felt like it stopped. Trying to save myself, I forced a shaky smile. Babe, I was just kidding. Don't take it seriously. My friends went silent. Everyone could feel the warmth drain from the room. But he didn't blink, didn't step forward, didn't say anything. Then, in a low, steady voice that felt colder than ice, he said, "You're done here. Pack your things." I stared at him, stunned. "What? Are you serious?" I whispered, my voice already breaking. The look in his eyes told me everything. This wasn't a threat. It wasn't a warning. It was final. I scrambled to gather my belongings, my mind racing so fast I couldn't think straight. I couldn't stop hearing my own cruel words echoing in my skull. Perfect 10, a 3. I wanted to rip them out of the air, take them back, erase them forever. Stepping outside, the night air slapped me in the face. I didn't know where to go, so I wandered aimlessly, ignoring the buzzing of my phone. Shame wrapped around me so tightly I could hardly breathe. I kept replaying the moment over and over, imagining what he must have felt, publicly belittled by the very person meant to cherish him. My friends tried calling, but I couldn't bear to answer. I wasn't ready to justify myself, and I wasn't even sure I could. That night taught me something brutal and unforgettable. A joke can be a weapon when it's aimed at the wrong person. What I thought was harmless teasing cut him deeper than I expected. It wasn't a funny comparison to him, it was an insult, a humiliation, a betrayal. And he reacted not only from anger, but from the need to reclaim some sense of dignity. Days passed before we finally spoke. Those days were filled with anxiety, shame, and painful reflection. I had to face the uncomfortable truth. I put my need to impress others above the feelings of the man I promised to love. When we finally sat down to talk, it was raw and excruciating. He told me how deeply it hurt him, how the words had replayed in his mind long after the laughter died. I apologized with everything inside me. But he made it clear, trust doesn't magically return once it has been fractured. He didn't yell. He didn't insult me. He simply explained how deep the wound ran. Looking back, that moment was a defining point in my life. It taught me how heavy words truly are and how fragile trust can be. I never meant to hurt him. But intent doesn't erase damage. From that moment on, I became painfully careful with my words, especially when it came to him. Things didn't immediately go back to normal. There were days filled with awkward silence, hesitant conversations, and the fear that one slip could break everything all over again. But slowly, step by step, we rebuilt something. It wasn't the light-hearted, carefree bond we once shared, but it was honest. It was cautious. It was real. And now when I tell this story, it's a reminder to myself of the mistake that changed everything, and the lesson I can never afford to forget.